Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into one of the wildest corporate stories of our time, the firing and then the rehiring of Sam Altman at OpenAI. And we're not just going off rumors, we're going straight to the source, a deposition from the man who kicked it all off, co-founder Ilya Sutskever.
This story absolutely rocked the tech world. A fired CEO, a secret memo, a rival's takeover plot. But what we all saw play out in public, that was barely scratching the surface. Now, thanks to this deposition, we can finally piece together what was really going on behind closed doors. So, let's get into it.
See, this whole thing didn't just start with the firing. Oh no, it started weeks before with a secret 52-page document. Ilya Sutskever, who was OpenAI's chief scientist and a board member at the time, put this whole thing together for the other independent directors. And believe me, this was no casual note. This was a case he was building.
And he was being incredibly careful about it. We're talking cloak and dagger stuff. He sent this memo using a disappearing email service. Why? Well, because he was pretty terrified of what would happen if Sam Altman found out about it before the board was ready to make a move.
So why all the secrecy? What was he so afraid of? In his own words, from the deposition, Sutskever lays out exactly why he felt he had to operate in the shadows. And it tells you everything about the stakes here. Wow. Just think about that. He believed that if Altman got even a whiff of this, he would somehow just shut it all down, make it vanish. This wasn't just some workplace disagreement in Sutskever's mind. This was a covert mission to expose what he saw as some really serious problems. Okay, so what was in this memo that was so explosive? Let's get right to the heart of it. The core accusation that lit the fuse on this whole powder keg. Yikes, that was pretty much the opening shot. Not a gentle critique, right? It's a straight-up, damning indictment of Sam Altman's character and leadership. And Sutskever didn't just make the claim. He came with receipts, using screenshots and other evidence, a lot of it from OpenAI's CTO, Mira Murati, to back it all up.
And let's be crystal clear about what the end goal was here. There was no ambiguity. When the lawyers asked him what he thought the right move was, based on his memo, he had a one-word answer: termination. The plan was simple: get rid of the CEO.
But, and this is a huge but, this is where the story takes a massive twist. Because when the lawyers started cross-examining him, they started pulling at the threads of his argument, and the whole thing started to unravel. Okay, so, for example, one of the biggest bombshells in the memo was this claim that Sam Altman had been forced out of his last job as president of Y Combinator for the exact same kind of behavior. I mean, that's a huge allegation. So naturally, the lawyers ask the obvious question. Okay, where'd you get that from? What's your source? Did you talk to someone from Y Combinator? Do you have direct proof? And his answer, well, it was a little surprising. He admits the information came from Mira Murati, the CTO. But here's the kicker. She was telling him about a conversation she had with someone else. So this isn't first-hand knowledge, it's not even second-hand. It's basically a rumor he heard from a colleague. Right. So the next logical question, and you're probably thinking it too, is, did you check it out? I mean, if you're about to fire the CEO of one of the most important companies in the world based on this, you'd think you'd want to, verify it, right?
No, it didn't occur to me. That's his answer. This quote right here just perfectly captures the massive flaw in this whole process. He admitted he never called the original source, never tried to confirm it. He just said he fully believed the information that Mira was giving me. It's kind of shocking, actually. Looking back, Sutskever did seem to learn a hard lesson. He basically said that he now understands the critical importance of first-hand knowledge. He realized that getting info like that should be the start of an investigation, not the final piece of evidence. A little too late, you might say. So just when it seems like this whole coup was built on a house of cards, the deposition reveals another absolutely mind-blowing plot twist that went down over that insane weekend. A secret plan that could have redrawn the entire map of the AI world. Okay, so let's set the scene real quick. Friday, Altman gets fired. The whole weekend, the company is literally in freefall. Employees are threatening to quit en masse. And right in the middle of all of that chaos, an unbelievable proposal gets put on the table. You heard that right. The board, or at least one board member in particular, Helen Toner, was in talks with Anthropic, their #1 rival. And this wasn't just a friendly merger. The plan was for Anthropic's leadership to take complete control of the new combined company. This was basically a backdoor takeover attempt.
But here's where it gets even crazier. The board was totally split on this. Sutskever said he was very unhappy about the whole idea. But the other board members? He said they were a lot more supportive, with Helen Toner leading the charge. This just shows you how close OpenAI came to literally being swallowed by its biggest competitor.
So that Anthropic deal fell apart, and eventually Altman came back. But the deposition leaves us with all these fascinating, lingering questions that really peel back the curtain on just how deep the tensions were running at OpenAI for a long, long time.
Like, how long had Sutskever been thinking about ousting Altman? Turns out this was no sudden move. His answer? At least a year. A full year. He said he was just waiting for the right moment, waiting for the board dynamics to shift so he could finally make his move.
So if he'd been planning this for a year, why was the execution such a disaster? Well, Sutskever himself blames the board. He called the whole process rushed and said it happened because the board was inexperienced in board matters. I mean, that's a pretty stunning admission of failure from the inside.
And the deposition leaves us with one last, kind of strange mystery. The lawyers asked him a simple question. Who's paying for your very expensive legal team? And Sutskever didn't really seem to know.
He says he hasn't gotten any bills yet, but he thinks OpenAI is probably paying for it. Just let that sink in. The company he tried to stage a coup at is now likely paying the legal fees for his testimony about that coup. It raises all sorts of questions about conflicts of interest, doesn't it?
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? This deposition shows us a boardroom coup that was built on flimsy, second-hand information, carried out by a board that admitted it was in over its head and which almost ended with the company being handed over to its biggest rival. It really makes you wonder, now that the dust has settled and all the key players have shifted, who is really steering the ship at the company building what could be the most powerful technology in human history?